just do the one line. Yeah. You know, yeah. Well, even the next day, I could have seen my house from the road.
Okay. I'd like to call to order the January 29th board meeting. Everybody stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, hello, everybody. I am acting chair today. Rod is not with us today, and neither is Josh Perkowitz, but we do have a quorum, so we'll continue ahead. Let's see, well, that's roll call. 4.0 is to approve the agenda. Thank you. Any questions or discussion on approving?
The only thing I would add is if you looked under, and we'll be, Aaron will be talking to us about the sale of the bonds today. There was some information left blank in there, and it has been updated because depending on how the sale went and what it went in. So that has been updated. Otherwise, I don't think we have made any adjustments to what was, put out there. So I just wanted to mention that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, all in favor for approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion has carried. 5.0 is communication and reports. We'll start with the finance update at 5.1.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
All right. We're about 50% of the way through the year, so that we're kind of looking at where we fall in line with the budget at 50%. So, looking at our federal dollars, it's nice to note that we actually did restart receiving some of our federal money, and that is actually our E-rate payment for the network switches that we purchased at the end of last year. So that's what that is for. And then our title funding just started flowing in this month. So we'll be getting some catch up on that. Going down into our expenses, looking at the equipment budget, that is a little higher than we have been in the past, but it always comes down to timing of when we buy our major purchases. So this year we kind of did it earlier in the year versus later in the year. And then we keep flowing down into instructional support in the bottom section of the page. And we're sitting a little high there, but that's because those expenses are budgeted throughout the different categories in that bottom section. So just depends where they line up for their coding throughout the year. And that would also be the same with other financing uses. That is our insurance premiums for the year, and at the end of the year it gets divided out by where the payroll lands. Any questions on there? All right, second page. The only comment I'm going to make is that we are just about 2%, almost 3%, a little bit high in the expenditures for overall budget over last year, and that is basically a timing issue. So that will level out as the year goes on, and we'll just keep a close eye on it. And then finally on our treasurer's report, just the main note I want to make, our cash position is down. We will be watching that very closely through the remainder of the year. So that's what I've had.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Carl?
No.
Thank you. Okay, 5.2 is administration and department head reports. Superintendent?
Alrighty, yeah, I'm just gonna throw mainly some dates at you. I left everyone some what do you want to call them, drafts of next year's school calendar year. Don't worry about the stuff in the middle. Nancy didn't update, it's just looking at the three versions. For the most part, version 1 starts, I think there's 4 days if you look in that first week before Labor Day. And then look, and for the most part, look down like the holiday break and so on. The second version is very similar. I think it has 3 days in that first week. I think it shortens some of the holiday break, puts, some more vacation or short weeks, if you will, later in the year. And then the third one is if we didn't have, which I, again, thinking was in, everyone I've talked to is in favor, but didn't know. So we put these, obviously days can be moved all over. There's a lot of options, on where you could put breaks, different things. It's for the whole board to look at. And like I say, I did send it to the union group and asked for a date, when can we get this to just start looking at? I would like to get it to the board for the February 9th meeting. They threw at me Thursday. It's fairly quick turnaround. So what I'm throwing out is I know there's three people, it's Lindsay, Holly, and Josh. I doubt anyone's gonna, obviously, Holly, it's not a good time at 3:30 on Thursday. But what I'm throwing at the board is if there's anything you would really like to see, obviously it's gonna come back to the board, but I mean, I guess I'm thinking between admin and the union reps. Let's see where it comes in and, when we get what a proposed one is, I'll throw it back to the board. It obviously will come to the board for final approval. But, if there's anything we're set and dried, has to be, I guess I don't have anything that has to be other than we all have our own preferences. Some, like one, and I gave it to principals, on Friday, some, so, on the one, couldn't we have the 23rd in December? And again, all those are open, there's a lot of movement and stuff. So if there's anything you'd really like to see, let me know. But for the most part, we're going to meet on Thursday and we'll go from there. Like I say, I just throw it out. Not that I've heard anything in I shouldn't guess that it'll be canceled, but we do have a meet and confer coming up on February 2nd. Again, I don't think we've actually had one, since we've been scheduling them, but I will, as soon as I know, for sure we're not gonna meet or will meet, I will throw that back out. I'm just looking, and that's, also Lindsay, Holly, and Josh. So, but right now, there's nothing on the radar that I'm aware of. I want to make a note, next board meeting on February 9th, Nexus is gonna have their booklet put together and they will be here to present. And so I asked, how long should, we suspect? And they're guessing between 60 and 90 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Okay, there'll be two of them here. They'll present. The admin group has kind of a final run through. I forget later on here before that, which they'll go through. But so what we'll do is we'll do our regular meeting, so to speak, and then before we close at the end, we'll go on with that. So I just wanted to give you a heads up on, there's several things coming there. The second thing I wanted to throw out again, which they would like brought, and I talked with Scott, Sacred Heart has come back asking if we would revisit the girls' hockey. For some reason, they think the co-op may be dissolved again. I don't know what's coming down, not this year, And so if it doesn't, it would be for the 27-28 school year. But they also have, and I don't know what, a belief that something may happen in this off season to where they would either add another school or something like they did last year. So they'd like to know that's what happened. We weren't meeting till Monday night and they wanted it prior. So I'm just giving you a heads up. We're going to bring it. So if people want to talk with anyone, or not to say you have to approve, you could delay it or what, but I'm just throwing that out that that's coming.
Are we voting on it next meeting?
Unless there's a reason, not to. I'm
Okay.
just, like I
Just-
say, I'll let, I haven't talked to Lynn or Josh about it, Scott and I were approached and I just said, I want to say it was last Thursday and I said, I'm not gonna, this quick. I said, let me bring it to this board meeting. If there's something again, I don't know what else you'd want. We had numbers last time. It's not, like right now, I think they have 3 or 4 people, high school kids playing. It's not an end all be all solve of anything. But, so that'll be coming. Again, we don't have to, Matt, answer the question, but it'll be on there just like anything else, be tabled or something. And then, the other presentation will be coming, and again, Amanda and I are meeting, with, I'm gonna just say a representative from soccer that's interested in putting a shed, storage facility out back. We're gonna meet with them. And I think they will present at that meeting. So, there'll be a few things. Heads up on, obviously, we've had some cold weather. I just wanted to give you a heads up. I didn't ask on Thursday, Friday, we had 471 students out.
Oh, wow.
But on the flip side, it's still under 25%, you know, and so again, it is what it is. If you had any input on what we did, I'd be open to it. I obviously talked with Lynn, several different times as we were trying to make decisions and stuff. But it is what it is. And, I think that's all I have right now, unless you have specific conversation or questions.
No, nothing. I have no further questions. And then that was kind of committee reports rolled into one there.
Yep.
Okay. All right, so 6.0 is to approve the consent agenda. Does anybody?
I'll make the motion.
Motion, okay.
I'll second.
Anybody want anything pulled?
I just want to comment that on 6.2.1, the beginning date is missing from the last sixth person there.
Yeah, for the cook.
Under hires.
There's a few of them that are missing.
Beginning, but then.
Oh, gotcha.
And the first one and the second one, yeah, and the third, yeah.
Well, no,
Beginning January.
The day is missing. yeah.
oh, so Lan is January 20th, 2026, at least on the one I have. David, is that?
Yeah, the bottom,
Oh,
you see the top
It's just the
two
beginning.
and then the bottom,
Just
the
at the
last
beginning,
one
yeah.
just says,
okay.
just not complete on those dates.
Yeah, the one's January 20th, one's January 12th, and then the one I'm not seeing as well.
On the electronic copy here that, because
Oh,
this page that I'm looking at on hard copy is not listed on there.
yeah. Sorry.
Okay, so just get those dates or,
The only comment, and again, obviously, thank you to, Mr. Enright is retiring, longtime, employee, not that we don't thank anyone that's left. Heads up on that Christy Devine at will contract. I feel bad. I left that off. She was hired not, into last year, so the list I had that we approved last time didn't have her on.
Sure.
We gave the same percentage and so on, so, I apologize to her and just giving you a heads up, that's why that one is here and wasn't on the other one. And the only other thing is down on 6.5, and again, the first reading of this policy, it has to do with the sale of bonds. We had this back in 2015. And Aaron can mention it's a policy they recommend us having. I don't know if we ever got rid of it. It's not listed in ours now I'm guessing it was when they sold bonds originally, or for this group, but so we're putting it in there. We'll bring it for approval next time. This is like the first reading, but, if someone went, why didn't that come to the policy committee or something? That's where that came from, was just so we can say we're gonna have it. That's all I have.
okay. All in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oh, consent agenda.
Yeah, sorry.
The consent agenda. Any opposed? And motion passes. Okay, and 7.0 is opportunities for citizens to speak on items not on the agenda. I don't see any here, and we're all set, Superintendent? Okay, and 8.0 is district business. 8.1 is the authorization of the bond sale.
So my thought is if we could take a motion, in a second, let's just get it open.
Okay.
And Aaron can present and then, you can do your actual vote on it, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yep, I'll take a motion to approve the authorization of the bond sales. I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Aaron, welcome.
All right, hello.
Thanks for having me tonight. It's nice to see all of you in person. So we're super excited about the bond results this morning, so we wanted to share that information with you. In your board packet, you do have the resolution to approve that sale, and then we provide a sale day report as well that's included in there. So I'm just gonna touch on a couple highlights from the sale day report. So again, you receive a credit rating, so you receive a bond rating, so similar to a credit score for a mortgage, right? Generally speaking, the better the bond rating, the lower the interest cost. And so as part of this program, you are a part of the state's credit enhancement program where the state of Minnesota guarantees your debt service payments. So what that means is you receive the state's credit enhanced rating, it's called. So the state's currently a AAA, so you receive that. And then you also receive an underlying rating, which is an A+, which is a really solid rating, and I'll touch on that in a minute. So we sold bonds this morning. Typically, we like to see at least 3 bidders, and we actually had 13 bidders. So there's a lot of demand out there. And I think, you know, this kind of just represents where the market's at right now. And you received the lowest bid out of those 13, which was Jeffries out of New York. So we saw nationwide interest in your bonds, which is great. So ultimately, I think when we did the pre-sale report back with you in November, when I was virtual, we were estimating like $100,000 of interest savings at that time. We actually we're just short of $300,000, so over $299,000 in interest savings. And so that'll start with your levy cycle next year. So that's a reduction of just over about $40,000 annually for the next 7 years. And again, as a reminder, those savings go directly to your taxpayers. You can't use those for general fund operations or anything like that. It has to be used to reduce future levies. So ultimately, that's a great piece for your taxpayers and your district residents. There's a bid tabulation in here that shows the different bidders, the different underwriters that had submitted a bid. And then finally, I just wanted to mention your bond rating. So with Standard & Poor's, they're one of the kind of typical bond rating agencies. And so what that looks like is we had a call with Kevin and Carla and S&P. Takes about 45 minutes to an hour. S&P asks a lot of questions, right? And I wanted to mention that Kevin and Carla did a really nice job representing the district. They were well prepared, and that really showed, and that's important during that call. So part of the rating is kind of factors outside of your control, things like they look at things like your property valuations, your local economy, your median household income. So some of those things are out of your control. They also evaluate some things that are in your control, including fund balance, operating results, things like that. So there was quite a bit of conversation regarding your fund balance. You do have your fund balance policy in place, and so S&P asked questions to ensure that you were planning to, you know, kind of stay within that fund balance policy. So just wanted to mention that because your rating is already set now for these bonds, but should you issue any debt in the future, right, they'll come back and they'll say, all right, last time we spoke, we talked about your fund balance, and, you know, and how does that look now compared to what you kind of said it would be at this time. So just wanted to mention that was part of the conversation that we had with S&P. So with that, I'd be more than happy to answer any questions you might have either on this or on the policy that Kevin mentioned that's before you as well. But ultimately, you know, we appreciate the continued partnership with the district and are real excited to share these results.
So if we were to take on more debt in the future, you said, would that result in changing this rate?
Nope. So the rates for these bonds are set.
Okay.
Yep. So it would be for a future debt issue. We would come back and they would do the bond rating call all over again. You're currently at an A+. With a stable outlook, meaning they don't expect any significant changes. So then if you were to issue future debt, we would do this again, and that rating could change depending on if you have a changing financial situation and projection. Did that answer?
So the
question.
rating could change, like these rates are set.
Okay.
You know,
Yep.
the bonds are sold and we'll get everything taken care of between now and when it's, you know, completely like your closing date. But if we were to go out to the voters or whatever and do another bond,
It would affect our bond rating?
well, then you get re-rated. You know, you
Yeah.
hope to stay A+ or.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but it won't affect the rates, just the bond rating.
Well, at that time, whatever the bond rating is, will affect whatever, you know, the rates, who knows what they are, say you're a year or 2 years or 3 years down the road. It won't affect the rates we sold.
That we locked in, yeah.
Correct.
Okay, that's
These
what
are
I thought.
locked in. But like I say, what Aaron was talking about, we had some conversation, say we ate into the fund balance a bunch more, got below, like our policy says, between 8 and 25%.
Sure.
If we were, say, at 6%, it's very possible the bond rating would not be where it's at.
Sure.
You know, they would look at it going, you know, we had conversation about why, you know, what, like our deficit last year, you know, we actually went to higher. We talked about selling or buying the Chromebooks early, which is one, you know, the main reason it was not right where we had, you know, predicted or, you know, but things like that of, you know, it's going to be important that we kind of curb, even though we, you know, we're roughly 300,000 in the hole out of a 30 million, which is, doesn't seem like a lot, but you do that 3 years and it's $1 million. And all of a sudden now we're in, you know, in a bad place. We're not at, you know, 25%, you know,
Sure.
above right now. We're 10, you know, so we're getting it close where we need to, it's the right way to say it, close that gap. You know, and so I think that was part of our conversation, because if we did something year, 2 years, 3 years down the road, we want to make sure we still have a good rating. Otherwise,
Yeah.
we will have elevated rates.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
And maybe I'll just kind of follow up, maybe close the loop on that. So like the next rating down is an A. So it's A plus and then A and then A minus. So typically between those different tiers, we see about 5 to 10 basis points of change in the interest rate, which is like 0.05 or 0.1%, which doesn't sound like a lot, but if you apply that to $20 million over 10 to 20 years, it can add up.
Okay.
So,
And I would just like to thank Aaron, Matthew, the Ellers crew. They're just fabulous to work with. And then, you know, they use another group to help with some of the documents, and Peter's great. So they hold our hand very well through the process. Let's put it that way, because it's not our deal that we work with.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have a motion and a second. So all in favor for the authorization of the bond sales, say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? And motion passes.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
8.2 is to accept donations to the school district. And usually I do that one. Let me grab that up. Okay, I will make a motion to accept the donations from the following entities. A donation from the EGF boosters to girls tennis for overnight stay for the amount of $1,030. A donation from the Pembina Gorge Foundation to General Music for music in the amount of $50. Donation from Megan Traga to esports funding for esports in the amount of $500. Donation from Daniel Black to esport funding for esports in the amount of $250. Donation from the East Grand Forks Music Boosters to the General Music for music, the amount of $3,507.50. Donation from J.C. Zach to the Monty Zach Scholarship, the amount of $500. East Grand Forks Arts and Crafts donated to General Music for band instruments in the amount of $3,507.50. A donation from Cheryl and Bradley Tupa to music for band and choir travel in the amount of $100. An anonymous donation to General in the amount of $3,800. Another anonymous donation to General in the amount of $10,400. A donation from Hugo's to the Senior High for music in the amount of $229.50. Donation from Hugo's to the Senior High for art in the amount of $229.50. Again, from Hugo's to CMS for music in the amount of $229.50. Another from Hugo's to South Point for music in the amount of $114.75. And one more from Hugo's to New Heights for music in the amount of $114.73. Total amount of donations that we're approving tonight are $24,562.98. That was one long motion. If I can get a second. Thank you. All in favor of accepting the donations, say aye. All opposed? Motion carries. 9.0 is payment of claims and accounts.
I'll make the motion to approve the payment of K-12 bills 130913 through 131038 in the amount of $313,367.46.
Second. Thank you. All in favor of payment and accounts, claims and accounts, sorry. Say aye.
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 Any opposed? And motion passes. Okay. All right, we are on to board member comments. We'll start with you, Matt.
I guess I just want to say thank you to Ellers for working with us to, help us with these bonds. So it's definitely some good news. Now we use more money. So thank you very much. That's all I have.
Okay, Amanda?
I want to say thank you because I looked up a lot of that stuff and learned a lot of new things that I had no idea that I didn't know, about bonds and things like that. Also, the school board convention was interesting as always. Learned quite a few things that I did not know until I knew it. And that's about all.
Thank you. Holly? Nothing tonight? Okay, I will, again, thank you to Ellers and all of that work that went into that sale. And of course, thank you for all of the donations. That was a large number tonight, so that's always helpful. And congratulations to Jim Agnite on his retirement and all of his years of service. We thank him for that. And yeah, I think that's all I have. All right, the next meeting of the Board of Education is scheduled for February 9th in this room at 5:30. And I,
Your calendar is open for that one.
what was
Be
that?
a long one.
That's a long one.
Long meeting.
Yep, that's a long one, so buckle up. All right, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor of adjourning? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Now, before everyone jumps, Holly, I don't need you, but the other three, no, we need signatures for all
Oh, sure.
documents. And so some need treasurer. Matt, we're gonna use you as the clerk since Josh is out.
Okay.
And so